Hey everyone, this is Paul Gale from paulgalenetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game news. It is May 11th, 2021, and these are the top stories of the day. To kick things off, over on Katy Perry's Twitter page, she has the following tweet: Electric, Pikachu, Friday. This is the little tease of what's to come Friday, which will be seemingly her new single called Electric, as the official tie-in between Katy Perry and Pokemon to celebrate the 25th anniversary. You know, it was a couple of months ago that Video Game News with Paul Gale Network broke the story of Katy Perry teaming up with Pokemon, and then we didn't hear anything for a while. Then we got news of Post Malone, and then we got that digital concert, and now Friday's coming, and we got this new single. We have a little clip right here. Small tease of what's to come, but hey, at least from those 7-8 seconds, it sounds nice. Got the logo right here, Katy Perry. The two Y's look like the Pikachu tail. Electric looks nice, slick. Katy Perry's huge, right? Big star, very successful in the music industry. A lot of fans, a lot of hit songs. If this really is a single, produced, sung by her, hits the radio, is successful, is well received by fans and stations alike, and gets a lot of attention, this is only good news for Pokemon. We've got Sword and Shield as a couple of the highest selling Pokemon games of all time, technically third, might end up in the top two. We've got Pokemon games coming out this fall, remakes, Arceus next year. We've got new Pokemon Snap that just released. If this brings more attention to Pokemon Company, to Nintendo Switch, hey, I'm all for it. I hope it's a good song. I hope Katy Perry nails it. I'm looking forward to it from that perspective. But also, I'm hoping that it's good for my Pokemon reasons. I want Pokemon to succeed and to be strong throughout the world always. So here's the Friday. I will update you when the song comes out and anything else along with it. Moving along, in EA news, they announced their EA Play Live event with a save the date of July 22nd, 2021. EA doesn't always participate at E3. However, they'll usually have something alongside E3 in June, or in this case, July 22nd. So I'm still looking forward to their own event. Hope it's fun. Hope they have some cool things to show off. Nothing beats E3 for me, though, personally. Back in the day, I looked forward to Nintendo's Space World events and the Tokyo Game Show events, which lasted longer, more years worth than Space World. But E3 was really where it was at. Being a California kid my whole life, seeing E3, whether they were in Atlanta, Georgia, or in Los Angeles, that was something that I realistically thought I could go to. I want to go to. I have to go to someday. And when I got into the video game industry, actually, I was supposed to go to E3 in 1999, but something happened, so I didn't get to go then and there as my first one. But in 2000, I went, 16-year-old me, to my first E3, and just had a blast. It was such an experience, and from 2000, 2001, all the way to 2019, I've been to all of the E3s, 20 in total over a 19-year history. Last year, obviously, pandemic hit, so there was no E3 to go to. I held my own little event online. This year, I'm going digitally to E3, so count that as my 21st show, I guess. And I'm excited. It's a special event. The people you meet, the contacts you make, the friends you make, the old friends you see sometimes once a year, new people, the models, the booths, the games you get to play, the swag, the lights, the spectacle, just the celebrity guest hosts, the professional wrestlers and mixed martial arts fighters, and just everybody. Everything about E3 is brilliant. I love it. I hope it never ends. It's the most fun event of the year to go to. And even before I could go to, just from watching videos and pictures, it was still a blast. So I hope E3 comes back strong. I know this is supposed to be about EA Play Live, and there's just not that much to say about it right now. I hope it's a good event, and that's kind of it. But it really made me think about E3 and how that one is important and how the name means something. And as we saw last year, video game companies could still develop just fine, create their own videos, release the information the way they want to, like Xbox did, like PlayStation did, like Nintendo has done in the past with directs and so forth throughout the year. But E3 is something special. But regardless, back to EA Play Alive. Hope it does well. July is my birthday month, July 7th, so this coming out 15 days later. If they have something really cool to show off, it'll be like a little bit of a late birthday present for me. Anyways, moving on. We got a cool video trailer today. An old school treat coming back. I used to play this with my friend back in the day. Zombies Ate My Neighbors. And we're getting Ghoul Patrol sequel. The 16-bit classics are back. Over 70 levels. It's coming to Nintendo Switch. 2-player mode. Game saves and achievements.
I really enjoy making it. I hope that people enjoy playing it still.
It's pretty cool that we're getting developer commentary as part of this release. Hitting the Nintendo Switch eShop. Pretty cool, right? So if you're a fan of this game from back then, early 90s, I would definitely recommend checking it out. I'll probably pick it up, and I will probably play with my friend online and have a good time. And I thought I would share that one today because it's new news, and it's also a little bit extra nostalgic for me. Next up, our friend Alana Pierce. Another good news for her. It's awesome to see good people, whether you know them in person or not. Alana and I have met a couple of times. Once for sure that I could recall at E3 a few years ago, where we spoke briefly, had a nice picture. That actually might be the one and only time. Other times perhaps just in passing. But regardless, when you know someone in person, even if it's just a brief encounter, and you got the vibe from them that they were cool, that they were nice, and they have something to do in the video game industry or some other type of entertainment industry, or even just for their own success, well-being, health, and life, you want them to do well, and that goes for a public figure or just a normal friend. And Alana is definitely a very public figure, and I followed her journey from her IGN days to her own YouTube channel days, and then now working for PlayStation, possibly on the next God of War. So it's exciting to see somebody live their dream and get more and more popular and do more and more good things and raising charity events and stuff like that. So props to her. Good to get some nice recognition. Here she has her own U2's figure coming out, and that's her little figurine right there. It's pretty awesome. So props to her. She's definitely doing good things with her attention and using her creativity, positive outlet. So well deserved, I guess. That's the little U2's figure coming out May 21st. Props to Alana. If you're interested in following her content, Charlana Zard is her Twitter handle. So good job, Alana Pierce. Congratulations. Next up, we've got some cool news regarding PlayStation VR 2. So, some good sources going around in the industry, not mine in particular regarding this story, but Upload VR in particular has cited that their own reliable sources have provided them an update on PSVR 2, suggesting that the headset could go 4K, 4000 by 2040 total, which would be a 2000 by 2040 resolution per eye, and it would also have gaze tracking and lens separation for adjustment detail. This is a feature that will track your actual eye movement from within the headset. This is a significant jump from PlayStation VR, which had 960 by 1080p per eye, and this is also an upgrade from Oculus Quest 2, which was 1832 by 1920 per eye. 4K resolution with as high of visual fidelity as PlayStation 5 can go up to. I am thinking we're in for a treat. We've also got haptic feedback in these controllers. I love the way the DualSense feels with its response. Getting something like that here, this is going to be a lot of fun. The only downside, potentially, and this could be a downside for some people, for others maybe not, but it looks like it won't be full wireless. The headset, that is. It looks like the headset will be a single corded one. It could be a small cord, but just a cord. There's nothing quite like having two controllers, one headset, and that's it. No cord dangling, no cord hanging from the ceiling having to set anything up. That's the ultimate. Could they release an adapter later on? Maybe. I don't know. But I guess, if you could live with the cord, which should be small enough of an obstacle, and the pro is obviously how good of VR this is with tracking, with response, with advanced tech. The pro will outweigh the con in this case. The pros, I should say, will outweigh the con. I guess the only other potential con could be the price, but hey, that's understandable. You could forgive that. It's still relatively new technology, and it looks like it's going to be a good advance forward from the standard PlayStation VR and even things like Oculus Quest 2. So I'm kind of pumped. I gotta check this out myself. And that kind of makes me bummed that there's no physical E3 next month, because I guarantee you this would be at E3. Sony would have the section in the booth with some long lines that I would probably get to pass, hopefully. In some cases I do. And get to try it on and see, what's it all about, because that's an E3 experience, Oh well. Moving on. I just can't wait for more on that one. We got our Famitsu sales data, and it's coming to us a little bit late. We had Golden Week the previous week in Japan, so the following information is going to look a little bit differently. First of all, it's coming later. This is not for this past week's worth. This is the previous week's worth of April 26th through May 2nd. We should be back on track for this Thursday having our regular Famitsu sales, but going for 2 weeks worth ago, new Pokemon Snap debuted, and in its debut week, it sold 147,000 copies. Next up was Monster Hunter Rise with 102,000. And see, when they released that new update, sure enough, it went up 19% over its previous week. Very impressive. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury had a giant increase of 69% over its previous week, 27,000 total. And then you're looking at a little bit of a different breakdown. Like I said, this is not your traditional top 10. It's a top 3 Nintendo. Now we're having the top 3 PlayStation 4. Nier Replicant at 25,000. A new debut title, R-Type Final 2, as PS4's second best-selling game, 8,600. And PS4's third best-selling game, Judgment, which was 3,383. Returnal was PS5's best-selling game, 6,500, and Judgment was PlayStation 5's next best-selling game, which was 2,881. You're really looking at the number difference between these, top-selling PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 games and top-selling Nintendo Switch games, and it's just no comparison. The third best-selling Nintendo Switch game is better selling than either of the top best-selling games on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. And it's a Nintendo territory in Japan, and it looks like it will be for a while, because Sony also announced that they are going to run into and are running into manufacturing difficulties with creating as much supply to meet the demand that is pretty high for PlayStation 5. Their efforts seemingly are going more towards West than Japan. So in an era where they can't even produce as many as they want to in the whole world, what they can produce, they're also shifting it more towards North America. So don't expect any giant PS5 sales anytime soon in Japan, anything cracking the #1 spot, for instance, or PS5 hardware beating Nintendo Switch. Will it happen at all throughout the generation? Possibly. More likely with software than hardware, but definitely possibly. But, with Resident Evil 8 that just came out, Village, that will be exciting to see in hopefully this Thursday's report of how it did on PS4 and PS5. Moving on into hardware. And thank you, as always, Chris1964 over at theresetera.com forums for laying this all out, making it look nice for us. We've got Nintendo Switch at #1 with 165,000 copies for the week, an increase of 50,000 from its previous week, an increase of 40,000 from the previous year. Sorry, that's an increase of 60,000 from last week and an increase of 50,000 from the previous year. Now, life to date, Nintendo Switch is at 19.68 million in Japan. Year to date, it's at 2.34 million, up pretty significantly by 211,000 from last year at this point in time. So Nintendo Switch is definitely outpacing itself last year. And that's really impressive because last year was the Animal Crossing year, as we say on the channel often. PS5 at #2 with a decent jump up to 30,000 from its 20,000 position. It's at 690,000 almost right now, getting close to that 3/4 million mark. PS4 at 1,700, 3DS at 543, Xbox Series brand of systems at 512. Yeah, this is the most impressive that Nintendo has been in Japan in quite a while. It's the most dominant that any particular hardware manufacturer has been in quite a while. And I really don't see the competition changing. In fact, from the beginning of the Nintendo Switch generation towards the seemingly 4-year or so future, I think this might be the longest stretch of Nintendo domination in Japan since NES, SNES era. Because you once in a while get a shift, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and then you go to PlayStation, PlayStation 2, and then you go back to Wii and DS, and then you go in between to PS4, and then Nintendo Switch comes out, and I don't think anything is going to top it, especially with so many solid games coming out in the future. Big titles like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, Pokemon Arceus, No More Heroes 3, Bayonetta 3, Metro Prime 4, just to name several, and a Nintendo Switch revision, and still no official price drop. We're really in year 4 just finishing of probably a 4 more year outlook of an 8-year cycle at least, I think, before a Nintendo Switch 2 comes out. At this point, I think the earliest that Nintendo Switch 2 could come out would be November 2023, and that seems too early if this Nintendo Switch Plus is significantly more powerful. So at that point, you're looking like, is it 2025 for a Nintendo Switch 2? I don't know. And even then, I don't think Switch is going to slow down. I don't think PS5 or Xbox Series X is going to have a chance to beat an old man Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 pick off. I think Nintendo Switch is going to last all the way being #1 until Switch 2 comes out. Maybe towards the tail end of its life, you'll start to see, closer numbers between PS5 and an old Switch, an old Switch Plus, but I don't think PS5 is going to be able to dominate, at least in Japan. The rest of the world is going to be interesting. But even the rest of the world is also something to think about because, like I said earlier today, Sony announced they're going to be running into manufacturing problems for throughout the rest of 2021 going into 2022, which means that maybe by March or something like that of 2020-23, they're finally able to have the output of PlayStation 5s that they want, the manufacture as many as they want per year. So if you're looking at 15.2 or so million for this next fiscal year, maybe they're able to crank out and make another 18 million for the next fiscal year, right? From 2022 to 2023. And then maybe finally in 2023, it's like, okay, we could do 24 million. But they're not going to obviously jump all of a sudden to 35 to catch up for lost time. No, they're only going to be able to go up a little bit. And that's another interesting topic. See, everything's just kind of rolling into one another. Will that make the PS5, Xbox Series X generation last longer? Because software might be ready, but big blockbuster titles from Capcom, Konami, Square Enix, Activision, Ubisoft, are these big titles going to come out exclusively for PS5 and Xbox Series X on an install base that's kind of small? Or will they be cross-gen titles coming out on PS4 and Xbox One as well until there's a bigger install base to really push forward tech and take advantage of what the hardware could do of PS5 and Xbox Series X, but also take advantage of the amount of players that are out there? Or will this mean that we're getting a smaller amount of games, fewer games being released earlier on, because even though they might be ready, developers are saying, hey, we're going to hold on a couple more years or slow down on development, take advantage of our time, and release the game a year after we thought, because if we release it now, it's going to get lost in the wind. It's only going to be purchased by X amount of million people. In order to maximize how many sales we can have, we need a higher amount of people in the first place to have those systems. Or could this be a sign that, hey, it helps out Nintendo, where a company might not be motivated originally to develop a whole other SKU for a title on Nintendo Switch? Now it's like, dude, you got Nintendo Switch with 95 million owners out there, and you've got PS5 and Xbox Series X with like 16 million. We really can't ignore the Nintendo Switch. Even the Nintendo Switch Plus is already at 6 million. Nintendo's got their stuff together. We got to find a way how to make it work on that platform. So it brings Nintendo Switch to being, a more competent machine and lasting longer. This also might make the PS5, Xbox Series X generation last 10 years, just because it's taking longer for the systems to have a bigger install base than it took PS4 and Xbox One. So the games are coming out, spread out a little bit longer. We'll see. There's a lot of little thoughts to come out from that. So anyways, exciting stuff. Some of that's speculation, but can't help it. All right. This has been Video Game News with Paul Gale Network. Thank you for watching. Appreciate your time. Hope you all have a good one, and I'll see you next time for more. Bye.